Beauty is not in the eye of the beholder. There are certain things and people that most of us agree are beautiful, and although that agreement may not be unanimous, these people and things cause a sensation when they are shown to the public. And so it is with motorcycles. Some are better looking than others. Some are works of art, while others are utilitarian, shaped by the roles they fill, which has a beauty of its own. So in this video, we'll choose the best looking motorcycles of all time and also give a nod to some of today's bikes which stand out in the looks department. And although this is a highly subjective list, stick around and see if you agree with our picks. And as always, if you're enjoying the content, please consider hitting the like button and subscribing to help the channel grow. Let's start with cruisers, because this is a style of motorcycle that relies on its looks to sell. Cruisers are all about that low stance, the aggressive, dangerous looks, and shiny chrome. Or the blacked out look, whichever catches your fancy. It's no secret that Harley Davidson has dominated this segment of motorcycling for decades, and which Harley was the best looking has always been a matter of some controversy. To me, Harley Davidson will always be synonymous with the FXR because a friend of mine had one when I was in my late teens, and that was my introduction to HD. Ironically, as often happens with Harley, when the FXR frame was first introduced, the diehards didn't like the look, claiming that the triangular frame was reminiscent of Japanese motorcycles. However, this bike handled well compared to previous Harleys, and its no-nonsense, no-frills look has come to be loved by the Harley faithful. But this is not the best looking cruiser motorcycle of all time, because that distinction goes to the Indian Scout 101, which was in production from 1928 to 1931. It's hard not to appreciate the beauty of this bike, and its looks are being imitated by every bobber in production today. This bike was light, nimble, handled well, and had impressive power for the time period. It had cool trailing arm leaf spring front suspension with a hardtail rear end, suicide clutch, Springer seat, and a frame shape to die for with a clean, long, and low stance. The shape, proportions, color, and detailing on this motorcycle just managed to strike that perfect balance between style and function, which is why most critics agree that the Scout 101 was the best motorcycle Indian ever made. And as far as the best looking modern cruiser, the current base Indian Chief would be my choice, due mostly to that beautiful frame which is visible because of the lack of a radiator. On to sport bikes, and if you want to build the perfect looking sport motorcycle, there's only one thing you need to do, and that's hire Massimo Tamburini to design it. Or you could have done this in the past, because unfortunately he passed away in 2014. If you want to do it now, you can just copy one of his iconic designs. The two motorcycles that Tamburini is best known for are the Ducati 916 and the MV Augusta F4, the two most beautiful sport bikes ever designed. Arguably, the 916 was more revolutionary because it came out in 1994, when the evolution of the styling of sport motorcycles was still in progress. The F4 came out 5 years later as the first model from the resurrected MV Agusta brand. Both bikes have gorgeous aggressive lines, single-sided swing arms, and underseat exhausts, and have pretty much set the standard for modern sport bike design. In fact, one could argue that the current best-looking sport bike in the world is the MV Augusta F3, which is heavily based on the F4 but with one less cylinder and a very sexy triple-side exhaust. Another style of motorcycle enjoying a fair bit of popularity these days is the Standard, which combines an upright riding position with sporty under-the-seat peg placement. These bikes break down into the classic looking ones and the modern naked bikes. Since we think that the classics are pretty much all better looking than the modern bikes, we'll focus on those. Many of the best looking classics emulate the old school British motorcycles from the post-World War II era, with the most famous one being the Triumph Bonneville. Triumph currently builds several Bonneville models, with the T100 being closest to the original look, but the radiator gives away the fact that this is not 1967. Recently, the BSA name has been revived in India with the release of the BSA Gold Star, which looks stunning, though it still has a radiator. The Royal Enfield Interceptor perhaps best offers the look and feel of the original British bikes which blasted through the English countryside and made their way onto American shores in the 50s. However, the best looking standard motorcycle of all time was the Norton Commando, a gorgeous bike with classic proportions and lustrous paint. Truly, this was the superbike of its day and is among the best looking motorcycles of all time. Now, generally, adventure and enduro motorcycles are built for function, not style. But functional looks have a style of their own, and although bikes like the BMW GS line are often considered ugly, their owners love them. Personally, I love the look of my Yamaha Tenere 700. It looks like a Dakar racer through and through and manages to be both lean and muscular. Speaking of Dakar looks, Ducati just released the Desert X, which is a beautiful example of Italian styling melding with function. And although this is not the best looking adventure motorcycle of all time, it is based on the bike that is. The Cagiva Elephant was a drool-worthy 900cc V-twin Dakar winning bike of the 90s, and the similarities to the Desert X are obvious. It used the Ducati engine and was optimized for racing at high speeds through the desert. It was truly a bike you could take anywhere and should have been the model on which motorcycle companies based their adventure motorcycles. Unfortunately, things went in the other direction and bikes kept getting heavier and less off-road capable. I could also extend this discussion to touring bikes, but that category is so varied that it would be very hard to judge. How do you compare a Goldwing to a VFR 800 to a Street Glide to the new Lowrider ST? If I were to pick my favorite looking touring bike, I'd pick the Road King for looking like it belongs on the roads in any era. Take a picture of one on a desert highway from far away and it's hard to tell if it's 2022 or 1942. Not many motorcycles can pull that off. As far as modern touring bikes go, the best looking is the new Moto Guzzi V100 Maranello Sport Tourer. End of story. And so, the best looking motorcycle of all time, the winner of winners so to speak, is... As nice as the Norton Commando is, the Indian Scout 101 has to take it. This thing is just so cool looking. I can't think of another bike that quite encapsulates what a motorcycle should look like as this one. So do you agree with our picks? And if you don't, what bikes did we miss? Please share your thoughts in the comments and ride safe. If you're interested in any of the gear that Brooke and I wear or use, or the camera equipment we use to film this channel, the links are below. Everything listed there was bought with our own money and we are not sponsored by any company. However, the links below are affiliate links and the channel is paid a small amount for referring you to shop at no additional cost to you. We do not recommend any products that we are not satisfied with ourselves, but we do strongly urge you to do your research and select the correct size for items like helmets and clothing. As always, thanks for watching, your support is greatly appreciated. Please hit that subscribe button, give the video a thumbs up, and leave a comment below. And whatever you ride, enjoy it. Wave at other bikers no matter what they're riding. We're all part of a brotherhood and sisterhood. Keep the rubber side down, shiny side up, and may the spokes be with you.